We are continuing on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, Hilchot Shabbat, discussing the halachot of Havdalah, Motzei Shabbat, Siman, Resh, Tzadichet, and we are up to Seif Zayin, Daf Ayin Daled, Amud Aleph, the regular prints of your Mishna Beruras. Hayaolech Chutz Takrach writes Maran Shulchan Aruch, if you are on Motzei Shabbat traveling outside the city and you see the fire lit by the people and it's enough that you could benefit from it, it's enough light provided from their fire that you could tell the difference between two different coins, but you don't know if this is a fire lit by a Jew or by a Gentile. We mentioned already before that some of these you can, some of these you can't. If it's a light that was lit by a Gentile, a Chilul Shabbat so-called was done by it, that if a Jew would have lit that would be a Chilul Shabbat, then you're not allowed to say the bracha of Borei Moreh Ha'esh on it. So can I just say I don't have a candle? I'm seeing the light provided by this village, whatever it is, the town that I'm passing by their houses. I want to just say Borei Moreh Ha'esh on the fire they have. Can I or can I not? Says the Shulchan Aruch, Im Ruban enam Yehudim en mevarchino. If the majority of town is the Gentiles enam Yehudim, then you cannot, because we assume that it was done by a goy on Shabbat, and that's not a light that you could say bracha borei moreh ha'esh. But Im Ruban Yisrael, if the majority are Yidden, or afilu mechter, or even if it's half and half, 50-50, safek the Rabbanan in this case, mevarchin alav, you can indeed say the bracha on it. Now, we could ask, you say Safek D'Rabbanan, but it's really Safek Brachot La'akel over here, it should be, right? You should say that Sabal, Safek Brachot La'akel, don't say bracha. But here is a little different, because here really is a Safek Sfeka. Maybe it is a Jew, and even if you want to say it's not a Jewish fire, maybe it did not it was not lit on Shabbat. Maybe it was from before Shabbat, or maybe it was lit on Motzei Shabbat, which would be fine. It's not a matter. There's no issue with saying bracha on a Gentile's fire. The only issue is if they did it on Shabbat, that had it been done by a Jew would be Chilul Shabbat. That's the only problem. You don't know if the fire that you see was lit on Shabbat. Maybe it was lit on Motzei Shabbat. So it's really a Safek Sfeka. Therefore, it would be fine to say that. That would be the explanation of Maran, why 50-50 would be still okay, even though that would be Safek Brachot La'akel Lich'ora. Says the Shulchan Aruch in Seif Chet, Ur hayotze me'ayitzim ha'avanim mevarchin alav. If you have fire coming out of wood or stones, you could still say bracha on it. Aval b'motzei Yom HaKippurim en marchin alav. In other words, this is you are generating new fire. You know, when it talks about etzim, it means one of the primitive initial things. They actually teach this in books when you're stuck in no man's land, an island, how to make fire. It's one of the most, it's like the survival kit. One of the most basic things that a person should know is how to make fire out of nowhere. So the way they teach it is, you take like a wood saw, small pieces, and you put it in an indentation, and you take another piece of wood and you move it so fast that the friction creates heat, and because you have wood chips, basically that friction, that heat causes fire eventually if you know how to do it. Again, no one should be in this situation. So that's what the Shulchan Aruch is referring to. Ur hayotze me'etzim means you're generating new fire from no existing source of fire. And of course, avanim, everyone knows the stones, the special stones that you strike against each other and it creates sparks of fire. That is brand new fire, as we would call it. A brand new fire you could use for Ner of Havdalah, but nevertheless, on Motzei Yom Kippurim, you cannot say it, because again, we discussed many times how on Motzei Yom Kippur you need a fresh, not a fresh candle, but something that Or Shavat. You need a fire that stayed lit the entire Yom Kippurim, that you could not have used it. It was there in existence, that you can't use on Yom Kippur, and now you see the Havdalah of ben kodesh lechol, that now I could use this very fire that existed before and I couldn't use it, and now I can use it, therefore I'm saying the bracha. So we discussed that already before, and says the Mishna Berura, the reason that you could say the bracha on a generated fire, a freshly generated fire from the friction of the wood or from the strike of the stones together, is because on the first Motzei Shabbat in the world also, that's how Adam HaRishon created fire. How do you think he did it? He didn't have already existing fire. He created it from scratch, and therefore, of course, you could do that as well. Says the Shulchan Aruch in Seif Tet, Gechalim habu'arot kol kach she'idu machnis ketzam benehem hu nidlak mevarachin alehem. The definition of fire is something that is so hot that it glows from the heat. So if you have a metal, for instance, right, that you heat it to glow, that is considered halachically like actual fire. Now, if you have one of those electric stovetops and you put it on high or number 8, whatever it is, and it turns red hot, you put a paper on it or a little wood chip. Immediately as it hits it, it catches on flame. Why? Because that is fire. So that's not just by metal, and that hashtag incandescent lamp, that's considered real fire. We spoke about Reb Chaim Ozer Grudinsky, that he used to say Havdalah on the incandescent lamp to show people that this is actual fire. It's Isur Doraita to light such a light on Shabbat. He wanted to make a point, so he would say Havdalah on it. But nevertheless, the gechalim, the coals that are red hot, also because there's no flame, it's not that you need a flame for saying Havdalah. So long as something is glowing red hot, even if there is no flame, but it is creating enough light that you could use from, you could determine the two things from close up, to matbeot, 2 coins from close up, you could say bracha borei moreh ha'esh even without any flame, so long as it is red hot that if you put a little paper on it, it will catch on flame immediately. That is considered fire for all practical purposes, says the Shulchan Aruch. Gechalim habu'arot kol kach she'idu machnis kesam. If you put a kesam, a little straw on it, it right away catches on flame. Mevarchin alehem. You could say borei moreh ha'esh on them. Ve'em sha'asuim le'ha'ir. Of course, that should be in a scenario that you have lit this gechalim, you have lit this coals for the light, not just for heat. So that would be a credential that you need, a tenai, a condition. But nevertheless, as far as the fire is concerned, they're considered fire so long as they are red hot. Maran writes in Seif Yud, Ur shel kivshan b'chlat serfat halevinim. When you have a brick oven, right? Not an oven that's made out of brick, but an oven that's made for making bricks, baking bricks in it. So the process of making bricks is you make the wet bricks with the mud mixed with the straws and all that, the cement that you put in, and then you bake them. If you don't bake them, first of all, they're not sturdy. Secondly, they are porous. Right, so there's a whole process, and it's a very high level of heat that they bake these things in. So if you have a Motzei Shabbat, you want to, they're having bricks there, they're making bricks in the oven. You want to go say Moreh Ha'esh on the tanur, on the oven that they have. So Shulchan Aruch says the fire of this tanur, this kivshan, this oven, in the beginning of the process of baking the bricks, and mevarachin. You can't say the bracha. Sha'az eno asur le'ha'ir, because there it's not for light, it's for heat. And a fire that is lit for heat only, you should not be saying borei moreh ha'esh, because borei moreh ha'esh you're saying on benefiting from light of the fire. V'achash nisrafu az asur le'ha'ir, but after already the bricks have been baked, they keep it for lighting as well, lighting purpose as well. As at that moment, you can say Borei Moreh Ha'esh. On that, again, these are realities that we don't necessarily have on day-to-day life. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on the discussions. Over here, we're just trying to cover the basics. But again, from each one of these, you learn a little bit. So from here in the previous Seif, we learned that even if you have fire, but the fire has been primarily lit for heat only, then you should not be saying Borei Moreh Ha'esh on it. So if Yud Aleph Maran writes near Bet Knesset, if you have a light that is lit for the shul, if you have an important person there in the Bet Knesset, then you could say the bracha Borei Moreh Ha'esh. Im lav, if not, en mevarachin alav. You can't say light on the light of Bet Knesset Borei Moreh Ha'esh. There are those who say exactly the opposite. Now we have to discuss why this is. That means if there is Adam Chashuv, you don't say bracha on it. If there is no Adam Chashuv, you do say bracha on it. But if you have the Gabbai of the Shul, the Shamash of the Shul, in the time of Chazal, and even up to a few hundred years ago, the Shamash lived in the Shul. The Mamash lived in the Shul. There was the Gabbai of the Shul, the Shamash of the Shul, would live in the Shul to take care of the Shul, clean up, set up, make sure everything is tidy, and protecting the Sefer Torah, setting up the Sefer Torah. Everything was done by this person that lived in the shul, the room next to the shul. That's where he lived. So if you have the Shamash, she'ochel sham, that he's going to be eating Seudat Motzei Shabbat, Menave Malka over there, then you definitely could say Borei Moreh Ha'esh on the light that was lit for him. That's provided that there is no light of the moon lighting up. Sometimes you have a good moonlight that could be like sufficient for doing your things there, completely lighting up the place in a way not for learning in its light and using its light, so therefore you can't say bracha Borei Moreh Ha'esh on that. The other Yesh Omrim that says the reverse, the exact opposite of this, they hold that when there is Adam Chashuv, you're doing it for his kavod, not for the actual light. You just want to respect the Adam Chashuv, you want it to be light. But not because you're turning it on for people to learn and to use, but if the Adam Chashuv is not there, so then the regular lights that you light is for people to use and to get around without falling and to be able to learn, and so on and so forth. So that becomes a little bit of a question. Over here again, nowadays, we don't have this. The Ner Tamid is up there all the time. And any candles that are lit are usually for the Havdalah, and that would obviously be not a question. Now, the Shamash that lives in the shul and he lights a candle, he for sure is doing it for his usage. Right? Therefore, it will be, of course, mutar. But if you have a moonlight that is strong and you can use it alone without any additional lighting, without any artificial lights, then if the Shamash has lit a candle, that's not for him. That's for the kavod of Shekhinah or whatnot, and therefore you should not be using that in the shul. Fine. Maran writes one more Seif over here. Ein mevarachin al ner shel metim. You cannot say Borei Moreh Ha'esh in Havdalah on a candle that has been done for a yortzeit candle, right? A yortzeit candle that is lechavod of metim, you cannot use for Havdalah. This could be actually relevant because there are Batei Knesset that they have candles, yortzeit candles for different individuals or for different gedolim. They do lechavod Rabbi Meir Balanes. They light a candle, right? Many shuls do have these minhagim, especially in the Sephardi circles of the Moroccans and so on, that they have lots and lots of candles, and each one of them, this is for Rabbi Meir Balanes, the other one is for Rabbi Yaakov Abu Chasera, and the other one is for this. That you cannot necessarily use as ner shel Havdalah, because again, it's for kavod, not for lighting. Or it could be at home. A person has a yortzeit and the candle is already on, and say, okay, fine, I'm just going to say Havdalah on this candle also. It's already a lit candle. You can't do that. If you have a Ner Neshama, you cannot say the Borei Moreh Ha'esh of the Havdalah on that. The Magen Avraham writes that this is the same would be for a ner that they light for Chatan and Kala. Right? You see some of the Ashkenazim and Hasidim still have the minhag that the parents of Chatan and Kala that walk them down the chuppah, right? They walk them with candles. So if had this been in Motzei Shabbat, can you afterwards say, okay, I'm going to say Havdalah on the candles? You can't do that because again, it's a ner that the Ikar was lit for the kavod, not for usage. There's enough luminant in the room. You're doing it for kavod of Chatan v'Kala, then you cannot use that for. Again, this just gives us enough to question things. When you have a ner Havdalah, was this done for Havdalah? Was this done for kavod? If you have a seudah that you have candles, not because you need the candles, but because you want the seudah to look a little more the ambiance, the kavod of the guests, and so on. So that already becomes a question as well. That would be the bridging between the Shulchan Aruch and the modern day era and the reality of our complex lives with all the electricity and the luminance that we have, which kind of like renders any candle that we have questionable if they have been lit for usage or for just kavod. So again, that makes it more even important to have an explicit thing for Havdalah only. You turn off the lights, you have this light for usage, and you get close to it and you say the bracha. That would be the easiest way to get out of all the questions that lurk around in our sophisticated times. Fine.
Is it practical to have Chatzina after official?
Again, this we're talking about not a Chatuna that's nowadays. Nowadays, the Chatuna that for sure have been doing Chilul Shabbat. We're talking about, when things were proper and people had Chatuna at home, the community would come to help. You have a winter day, at 5 o'clock Shabbat finishes, and all they needed is an hour or two to prepare the things. No Chilul Shabbat was done. And we're talking about that type of thing. Obviously, nowadays, nobody should be doing Chatuna and Motzei Shabbat. That would be asking for a lot of problem. So says the Shulchan Aruch, we should maybe cover one more Seif over here as well. Suma eno mevarich. A blind person does not say the bracha of Borei Meoreh Ha'esh. So even though that we said a Suma does say the bracha on candle lighting of Erev Shabbat, because other people benefit from the light and help him not stumble and not fall, and things that he needs to have people take for him, get for him by the means of the light that is there, so he could say bracha on that. Here on Motzei Shabbat, you can't do it, right? Because you need to benefit from the light directly, a certain amount of benefit, direct benefit, in order to be able to say Borei Moreh Ha'esh, and he can't see the Esh, he can't benefit from the Esh, unfortunately, so therefore he would be unable to say the bracha. And the Pri Megadim has a little sarich iyun over here. The Pri Megadim says, can he say the bracha for other people who are chayav? He can't say the bracha himself, but maybe if other people need it, he could say it for them, because he's patur from the issue. And usually if you're patur from something, you can't be motzi, you can't fulfill it for other people either. But that is only on Borei Meoreh Ha'esh, but other Havdalah, the rest of the Havdalah, the blind person could say there's no problem with that whatsoever. Now, let's cover one more seif also here. Hayu yoshvim bebet hamidrash ve'yaviu lahem ur echad mevarech lekulam. If you're sitting in the Bet Midrash, you're learning. You don't want to waste the time, right? And they bring Motzei Shabbat, they bring the light. One person says the bracha Borei Ha'esh for everybody else, and that would be their fulfilling of the obligation by having in mind, and he has them in mind, and that would be great. Now, they have said Havdalah already, they just didn't have fire, right? So they have to only say Borei Moreh Ha'esh, and that's how they're going to do it. One of them says the bracha, even though that all of them need to keep quiet and listen to the bracha, and it will be a bitul bet midrash. It will be like you're stopping the bet midrash from happening, which would indicate that maybe it's better that everyone quietly should say the bracha and take the candle around the bet midrash, not to stop the bet midrash. But nevertheless, we do it like this because berov am hadrat melech. Yeah, when more people do the mitzvah together, that is a kavod for Hashem, that everyone is doing it together, and therefore it will be fine. Says the Shulchan Aruch. Well, we'll stop here. We'll leave the Seif Tetvav for the next Shur, Bezat Hashem. So we'll stop here and we'll continue Imrat Hashem in the days to come. Hazaku Baruch.